Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our lunch lab today. I am Sally Delisle, co-owner and director of trainings at ChildLight Education Company. Our mission is providing wellness education to create happy, healthy, and resilient youth and families. Today, we are talking with Larissa Noto. Larissa, welcome.
Hello.
It is lunch lab. So did you have lunch already, or what are you having for lunch today?
I did have lunch already. I had a salad, garden still going strong in the backyard, so that was my lunch.
Excellent.
Very happy.
Fabulous. I too had a salad. We're big on salads around here lately. It was left over from eating out last night where they didn't have many gluten-free options. So that was my option, but it was quite tasty, I have to say.
Salads rock.
Yes, they had a homemade dressing. I'm gonna have to get that recipe and we'll share it with all of you.
Ooh, yes, yummy. We have to slide those salads in before it becomes like cooler and our whole demeanor. My tastes changed. It's the whole Ayurvedic thing. So
So do mine. I am not a big salad fan when it gets cold. I want
same,
everything to be warm.
same.
Yep, I'm with
Fascinating.
you. So many of you know Larissa already as a teacher trainer for ChildLight or from one of her many other roles serving the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania and beyond. You can find her in many different places wearing many different hats. We'll hear more about that. Um, so today we are talking with Larissa about trauma-informed language and how it has evolved. So Larissa, before we can really even talk about that, would you explain what trauma-informed even means?
So in my time getting to learn and getting to experience different practices with lots of different practitioners, I think one of my favorite definitions actually comes from Halakori, and it's trauma informed yoga is people informed yoga. And I love that because it's true. Everyone that you meet has experienced something in their lives that could have been potentially traumatic experience. It doesn't mean that they're experiencing the after effects of that trauma necessarily, but they've experienced a traumatic event of some sort. And in our spaces, it's good to have that knowledge that you understand and appreciate that every being and body that's in front of you comes to you with those experiences.
Beautifully said. I also recall, perhaps it was Rochelle Jewell that I heard this from, that trauma can also be not necessarily something that has happened to you or around you, but something that didn't happen.
Yes, true. And Rochelle, love Rochelle.
Me too.
Rochelle, I love you. Um, Rochelle was my teacher and my mentor. Let me just put that out there for
Mhm.
everyone so that they're aware. And I learned much from her. And I do believe that there are, and to the point of this conversation, the evolution of the types of potentially traumatic experiences that have evolved over time has expanded greatly. So it can mean something that's happened directly to you. It can be something that did not happen to you. It can be vicarious. So something you saw happening. There's so many different aspects of it, of the different worlds of trauma and different types of trauma. So it's important to know what those might be because we don't always know what we don't know.
That's right. Knowledge is power, right?
Mhm.
What inspired you to pursue this line of work?
So I would say there was just probably like three experiences in my life that led me to this that probably informed my desire to do this work. And I want to say that, in this space and keeping in mind that we don't know who's watching, I don't want to potentially activate anyone, but there's three specific examples, one of which I'm definitely going to share. And it was the birth of my second child, who was born with a form of hearing loss. And that informed my work in diverse abilities and trauma But medical trauma, things that happen to children, it's a vast part of the world. And I definitely think that there's instances that you see, this could be vicarious, something not happening to me, but happening to my child. And going through that entire journey and that experience was definitely something that impacted me in a way where it invited me to seek out different types of work to be able to be more present and to notice how I'm feeling in those moments and to really embrace how things are impacting me and how things impact my child, and giving him tools to handle moments of stress. And that was yoga. That's what brought me to this space. Specifically, he was the big push to bring me to this space. There were two other instances which I share when we're in our trainings together with an intimate group of folks, and I would definitely share offline as well. So thank you.
Thank you. So when we're talking about being trauma informed and trauma in general, there's a lot of language surrounding that. And what I've noticed over the years is that the language has shifted, and then it shifts again and it shifts again. Who decides? And how has it evolved? And why does it keep evolving? Can you talk about that?
I think who decides has to do with the fact that, we're learning more all the time about the impact that language has on our beings, our bodies, our minds, all of it. And knowing that the impact that words and language can have, or the lack of those words, almost an awareness without something that's even not said, can also be impactful to individuals that come into our spaces. And when you're looking at that language, it's evolved because it's becoming more all-encompassing, in my opinion. And Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality, this fact that we are multi-dimensional beings. We're not just what you see in front of me right now. We have so many beautiful layers of our being, and it's such a beautiful term, and we talk about it in our trainings. And I think it just shows that we're more than what we see in front of us. We're more than what you might see on a mat in front of you. We're more than what you might see in a chair. Wherever you're teaching, in any space that you're in, it's more than that. And I think the who decides can be individual to the person and the practitioner who's taking the class. In that moment, you should be able to make a decision as to whether or not you may wish to receive an adjustment in a class. Like, this is a whole area and lineage of our practice that has evolved over time. We talk about this in our trainings in great depth, but I do think that there is the agency, and having the agency and the ability to make choices for yourself. That choice-based language has greatly informed the overall language in the trauma-informed spaces for the better. And I think it's going to continue to evolve.
Mm-hmm. So is this something that we only use on the yoga mat?
No, I say this all the time. I wish that every human being had to take a class related to being more trauma informed in your language, in your approach, how you're with others, as well as diverse abilities, because we are not just what we see. We, even in the diverse abilities world, you might see someone who looks like they have an actual physical disability, but there might be there's other parts to us. Like, it isn't just, for example, my son wears hearing aids, but he's more than what he's wearing on his ears. He's more than being defined as one part of him. He's this multidimensional being. And for me, I too multidimensional. So I do think that there is, there's a lot more to go.
So no matter where we are, what we're doing, we can be trauma informed and use trauma informed language at the grocery store, at the bank, in our educational settings, at the vet, no matter
Everywhere.
where we are and who we're dealing with our
Right.
spouses, with our families.
Yes. Which it might not be easy. It might involve having to really truly intentionally think through what we're about to say in spaces instead of making an assumption as we're about to make that statement, or even as you're entering a room, you might see bodies that appear to be assigned at birth female bodies, but that doesn't necessarily mean they actually are. So like that's where I do believe there's a beautiful intentional shift. And I think the more education we have around that as we continue to move forward, this language is going to trickle into all spaces, hopefully.
And this ties into the breath that we're constantly talking about, where
Mhm.
if we take a breath before we speak or act, it creates that pause
Pause.
so that you can think and make a well thought out decision before you speak. And you can choose your words very well, hopefully well.
Yes.
It
Yes. And
doesn't
that's that,
mean that you're going to be calm.
right?
You can still be angry or upset or have those feelings, feel all the feels,
Feel
right?
all the feels for sure. And I
But
think
at
the
least you've
power,
thought about it.
exactly. And then apologizing. We're not always going to get things right. And maybe the apology won't be sufficient in some spaces. And I appreciate that. But it's worth saying. It's worth saying. It's just an awareness. Wow. I'm really sorry I made that assumption. Or I'm really sorry I said that. I was speaking from a place of anger or sadness or hurt, and being able to move forward from that.
Or fear,
Or fear, big one. Yeah,
quite often the basis behind many emotions.
totally.
Would you please give us some examples of a language exchange, if you will? So instead of saying this, try this.
So, one of the big ones, which I see a lot and hear a lot still in spaces, is, and it depends on the context. So, like, this isn't like never say this word. Definitely not what I'm saying. In some spaces, and perhaps depending on the context, where it's the word relax, that could immediately activate someone's nervous system just by saying the word relax. So, can we choose instead, in some spaces, again, the word maybe soften in that way? That would be a great little exchange right there. It's
That's a big one. That is
fun.
so big. And we actually, at ChildLight, we have edited most of our manuals
Right.
and content
How about
to
that?
remove that word as much as we can.
Exactly.
If we tell people to relax, what do you mean relax? I can't relax. This is happening and this is happening and
Right.
this is happening and this is happening. Soften. I can soften my muscles. Okay, I can do that. But
Mhm.
don't tell me to relax.
Right. And it's funny because I mean, we say it more often than we think sometimes. And
Mhm.
I
It's
still
a habit.
sometimes occasionally, again, it's a slip. It happens.
Yeah.
But then again, it's the context. So if you say the word conscious relaxation, that's a different framing of that word as part of a larger word. And that to me means something different. But the word like, oh, just take a moment and relax. We say it sometimes in a space in a shavasana, or that, resting shape that we've chosen. I think it's a big one too, but that's definitely a swap. And I think the other one is the word, now this has been in many spaces, the word trigger can literally immediately send a trigger to someone just by saying the word. Maybe it would be like a light bulb moment, and we don't want to reactivate anyone, but it could be just by saying the word trigger. So I've heard in many spaces the word activate as opposed to triggered, or activated as opposed to triggered. Now I think the word trigger as a noun still has a place because it's describing an event or an experience that happened that might have activated you in a way, or almost revisited a past potentially traumatic experience. But activated really is a better descriptor when you think about it.
Mhm.
It's very activating to me, and it doesn't have that same, in most of the spaces where I've chatted about this, most folks have agreed for the most part. And in my experience, the word activated has been a little bit less of an impact than that word trigger.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That works.
Right?
Nice. Thank you. Good examples. So, if people want to find you, learn more, if they are looking for resources on this topic, what would you suggest?
So I would love for folks to come and take the trainings with ChildLight because there's a wealth of resources in our manuals. Real, in all honesty, like the manuals are just so robust in their reach. So yes, do that. Check that out first. I would also love if folks wanted to, connect, whether it be in a class or a space in the areas where they happen to be. You can find me online at www.lovelylittlalotus.com. So yeah.
Very nice. Excellent. And do you have a favorite book
Oh
on
my
this topic?
goodness. Oh,
I think
on this topic, let
yeah,
me
on
pick
this
a
topic.
new read. Let me suggest a new one. I have so many books on this topic. I
I
have
know.
two new reads. This one is from a memoir perspective. So keeping in mind this does talk about this particular author's experience with complex PTSD. So this I had posted this on Instagram also. What My Bones Know, and it's by Stephanie Fu. Really well done. I mark up my books clearly. And this, because it relates to so much of my work, I really appreciated the memoir, the way it's written, the clarity, even additional knowledge that I had not honestly known about because there was new studies done, new things happening post the ACEs study. Didn't know about it, and it's written in here. So there's little things that you can get from a memoir, and this is a very recent. I want to say it came out in the past year, so highly recommend this one. And I was just chatting with another teacher about this book, but Polyvagal Exercises for Safety and Connection by Deb Dana. There are a lot of practices in this book, which I too recommend. So those are two new references.
Excellent. Fabulous. Thank you for those.
Of course.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to chat with us today and share your knowledge. We appreciate you so much, Larissa. So until next time, take good care. Everyone out there, take good care, and let's go do good things out in the world. Right.
Thank you, Sally.
Bye.
Bye.